This is me. Okie doke. Can everybody hear me? Good? All right, sweet. Cool. So yeah, how long things take. So basically, sort of in a nutshell, a lot of my work kind of comes around data discovery and creating kind of exploratory views where you kind of unleash the users on it and let them kind of take their own insights away. So one of the kind of things we've struggled with a lot is kind of showing events over time. So by events, I mean things that have both volume and take time. So you want to see both the significance of those events and also how long they took, but you want to see both things at the same time. So this kind of set of views, I'm hoping will kind of take you through that journey and bring you to a slightly confusing but kind of cool looking visualization that we made to kind of tell that story. So the way we chose to show that was we found a public data set on global conflicts since 1991. So conflicts are events by the definition I've given. So they have volume and they have time that they took to sort of happen. So I mean, if we just kind of, I mean, there's quite a lot to take in here. So I'll kind of let you guys unleash yourselves on the Tableau public after this. But just on a high level, we've got kind of 5 major regions that we're cutting the conflicts by. We've got Middle East, Asia, Europe, and Africa, and the Americas. And then we've got a few kind of charts here that kind of give a useful snapshot of how the conflicts have looked like since 1991, but perhaps not a great idea of the flow. So I can kind of see on a high level, you know, what proportion have sat in each of the regions, but it's kind of difficult to get into without kind of filtering and kind of putting my own spin on things. So one thing that came out of here was kind of there's a general trend towards Asia becoming more dangerous and Africa becoming less dangerous. So what I wanted to do was kind of see if I could delve into that a little bit. So what I came up with was using the kind of the play function to kind of run through. So I'm just going to kick that off. And what we should see is kind of, wow, that's really slow. Let me just speed that up. Oh, super fast. Okay, whatever. We'll go with that. So basically, what you can see here, it makes it fairly clear that we see Africa get overtaken by Asia around 2008 to 2009. So the amount of people who are passing away in military conflicts has now started to shift from Africa to Asia, which obviously with events in Afghanistan and Iraq, perhaps not surprising. But for this, I mean, what we were hoping was that this would give us, the movement would kind of give us a feel of the flow, so we'd actually see it happening. But even then, it's still kind of a bit static. So, I mean, especially the map, you know, only shows you one year at a time. Even though this kind of gives you a feel of motion, it doesn't really give you that kind of holistic view that we were looking at. Because what we wanted to see, if we remember, we wanted to see the volume, and we wanted to see the time, and we wanted to see them both at once to be kind of it's kind of in a snapshot of what's kind of going on. So what we settled on was a trajectory diagram. So hope you brought your sunglasses because this is slightly bright. So holy crap! Oh yeah, it's really big on the big screen. So basically, if we flip through the different sort of regions, you get kind of, I mean, I know it is fairly busy, but we get like kind of a feel for kind of both how long conflicts are taking and how sort of what is the impact of them. So for example, we saw Asia and Africa. So Asia has become more dangerous, Africa has become less. So still very busy. But if we sort of run through them year by year, for example, then a few conflicts start to kind of jump out that tell a little bit of that story where we're starting to see, right, is it because of these particular conflicts that a region is becoming more dangerous? Or is it that there's lots of small conflicts? Is there sort of a theme that we can follow? So for example, we can kind of highlight here, and we can see, well, Afghanistan, the Taliban have been fighting against the government from 1995 to 2016. So that kind of makes sense. Whereas Africa, you know, there's a larger quantity of smaller conflicts. Now, obviously this is quite busy, and perhaps this isn't the best use case for it, but what we found is that actually, if you have events that maybe there's less number and they're larger in scale, like if we filter for 2 regions with a little bit less going on, you start to see it tells a fairly clear story where you start to get a really clear picture of what are kind of the big events that you're looking for, and also what are the long events that have less volume, like this one, for example, from 1991 to 2016. So I think, I mean, I know that there's definitely criticisms that I've heard of this view, and most of them are probably correct. But I think this is at least an interesting way to play back sort of that type of information. So that is me. Thank you very much.